Is the Galapagos Islands, Machu Picchu, and the Sacred Valley on your travel to-do list? Welcome to RTE Travel Talk. Ask a real travel expert, the show that talks to travel professionals around the world. Joining me today to dive into this South American adventure are Liane Lance and Sheri Clarke of PT Travel. If you enjoy the journey with us today, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And if the video's got you inspired, give it a thumbs up or drop a comment and join the conversation. It really helps the channel out. Thanks for being part of our travel community, whether you're a longtime fan or just dropping by. We really appreciate it. And now, on with the show. Hi, ladies. Welcome back to RTE Travel Talk.
Hey, Ken, it's great to see you again.
Hi, Ken.
Wonderful to have the two of you with us today. Now, one of the things that is popular and has been popular the last probably 10 years is folks wanting to do the Galapagos Islands as either a tour or a Galapagos cruise. And as well, when people are going down there, they also want to visit Peru and Machu Picchu. So I was hoping today that you could share a little bit of your insights that you've picked up along the way about this great destination. How does that sound?
Sounds great.
Perfect.
Sounds great to me.
So where do we get started, Sheri?
Well, Leon and I were fortunate enough to go down there back in September, and we had just an amazing time when we went there. We were first invited to come to the Galapagos to tour around with a company, and I was talking with Leanne about, I'm like, listen, it's so close. We might as well go to Machu Picchu because that is a place that I always wanted to see, and we do sell a lot of the Sacred Valley, Machu Picchu. So we decided to do the combo tour, which takes a little bit longer time, but we felt like we were there. We were already at the office. Let's go ahead and take advantage of what the area has to offer.
So when you think about that, Liane, what's the best time of year to visit Machu Picchu and the Galapagos Islands? Is there a particular season for it?
Kind of. So the Galapagos is on the equator.
Right.
So you can pretty much go any time of the year that you want. We chose September, October because it's a little less crowded there. It is not as green at the time, that time of year that we went, but it's still lovely. And we really had no trouble with the weather.
They say December through May is the mating season and a little bit higher temperatures, a little bit warmer there. I beg to differ. I think September was also mating season. So. Yeah, I do want to look at that though, because it depends on what you want to see.
Yeah.
And also you have to think about the water. Sometimes the waters can be a little cooler.
So what would the average daytime temperatures be, roughly?
In December through May, you're looking at about 75 to 80, something like that. June through November, 65 to 80, a little bit rougher seas though then. As Liane said, it's on the equator. So because of that, you're going to have mild temperatures year round. And it doesn't change too much.
No, exactly. Much the same idea as Hawaii, like the temperatures kind of level all year round.
Just really lovely all the time, yeah.
Liane, what would be included on a Galapagos cruise?
Well, typically they're kind of all inclusive. So your food's typically included, your transportation to get you to and from the ship. Of course, they use pangas to get you from the ship to the different islands, and all of that's included. Your guides are included. So we didn't spend any money once we were there. Now we had one afternoon that we were able to visit one of the islands that's populated, because most of them are not populated. Right. So we went to one, and I think we might have bought a cocktail or two there. But for the most part, it's not, once you paid for the Galapagos, you're pretty much done paying.
They always have naturalists on board too. So, yeah. I mean, when you have guides, a lot of times they're not particularly naturalists, and they're really, experts in teaching you about the different type of animals and about how, all the island came to be.
And they're very good at spotting them. They really are. They can take you right to where the animals are. The animals, we kind of need to know what kind of animal you want to see, because I think you're probably going to ask about the wildlife. And there are certain itineraries where you will not see, like the flamingos, for example, or the penguins, and then other itineraries where you'll see different wildlife. So we kind of need to know what is your expectation of the wildlife, so we can match you to the right.
So really, if you're thinking about a Galapagos cruise, then a conversation with your travel advisor is really worthwhile, because it can vary then from itinerary to itinerary. what you're going to
It
see.
can.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is one of those destinations too, Ken, that I don't think every travel advisor knows about because it is kind of a unique destination and
Oh, for
not something
sure.
that you sell on a regular basis. So make sure that they have some knowledge there. And if they don't, that they have a partner that they can go to help you with the knowledge because that really will go a long way in your
Yeah.
experience.
Leanne, you hear out there the lingo, a Galapagos expedition cruise and just a Galapagos cruise. Is there actually a difference, or are they all really, when you get right down to it, expedition type cruises?
Well, they're all going to be visiting the different islands. So you don't want to go to the Galapagos and stay on land.
Right.
Okay, that's not what you want to do. You want to visit the different islands and see the different wildlife that's there. But there are different ways to do it. You can start with like a small ship on like G Adventures, which is going to be a very small, probably 20 passengers or less.
Right.
We did kind of a mid-size yacht that was lovely. We liked it. There was a maximum of 66 passengers on our yacht. And while it wasn't luxurious, it was very, very, very nice. So we felt like it was kind of the perfect size for us. But then you can go up to the Explora from Celebrity, and that's a whole different experience. So there's just there, and it just depends on how much money you want to spend as well.
No,
Right.
exactly. And it comes down to, again, what you want out of this particular vacation.
I tell you, one of the things that really surprised Leanne and I was how good the quality of the food was.
Oh my
Very
gosh.
much fresh. Like I couldn't get over it because I was thinking because we didn't go with one of the luxury ships that our food quality may suffer.
Yeah.
And boy, was I wrong.
Really?
It was
Yeah, it was great.
absolutely delicious. Very, very fresh.
I believe that our chef was trained at the Sorbonne, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
But excellent, excellent soups and sauces, amazing desserts. So and you always had a choice. We really felt that we ate like kings.
You mentioned the wildlife. Just what exactly kind of wildlife can people expect to see on a Galapagos vacation?
Lots of sea lions.
Listen, until you've stepped over a sea lion, you have not lived your life. We
Hopefully, not a mother with a baby.
So many of them. And I went on a hike one morning and I was literally had to step my feet over the sea lion, just laying there. And sometimes they didn't like it. Like they're, get a little mad. But
My favorite was the one island where we saw the albatross.
yeah.
Yeah, huge, huge, huge bird that you cannot even believe can get off the ground.
Hmm.
And we were able to get right up to its nest. So that was pretty exciting. And I did love the blue-footed boobies, which we learned, and Sheri, correct me if I'm wrong, we learned the feet are not really blue. It's the reflection of the sun on their skin that makes them blue, something like that. But they're actually not blue colored. The red-footed boobies are actually red. You see an awful lot of the blue-footed, red-footed boobies on certain islands. And of course, the sea lions,
The giant tortoises.
which are over 100 years old, most of them that are that big.
And then lots of iguanas all over the place, marine iguanas, which is really freaky to see one of those swimming in the water because I have a little reptile phobia, but I was very brave and I went right by them. You see hundreds of them.
Yeah.
They're all over the place. And you need to be aware and make sure that this is something that you really want to see because you're not going to see one in the distance.
Yeah.
You're going to be walking right by them.
Yeah, when you're swimming in the water, you've got those baby sea lions swimming right alongside of you. They think that you're a play toy to them. So as long as the mama's not there, you can swim with those babies, but they're all about swimming in the water with you. So if you want to get in the water, you certainly can.
Oh,
Yeah.
fantastic. And one of the things that you always hear about the wildlife is that they really don't have any fear of humans. Is that still the case?
We walked right by all of the animals that we're speaking of,
Yeah.
and they would just sit there.
Yeah, the blue-footed boobies, especially you would literally almost have to step over them just like the seals.
Yeah.
They were right in your way. So I will say you do need to be a bit fit. So if you have any kind of disability with walking at all, I think we need to have a conversation. There might be a better way for you to experience the wildlife because the terrain is rough. I mean, I play pickleball all the time and you can ask Sheri, I had to use my walking stick. You're walking over slippery rocks a lot of times. So it is not for, people that are not well on their feet because when you get on those islands, you've got a lot of walking over a lot of rock and rough terrain. It's not like, hiking where you're rappelling or anything like that. It's just that you need to be very sure-footed.
Plus, you're scrambling in and out of Zodiac and doing
Yep.
wet landings
Mhm.
in some
Well, those
places.
were actually pretty easy. I
Yeah.
would say that the wet landings, I was a little nervous about those. They were nothing. They were very easy to do. So all the landings on the Pangas were fine.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
problem.
Great, great. Now, the naturalists that are with you on the islands, do they give you advice on how to approach the animals or not approach the animals? How does that work?
No, they definitely do. You know, you're not supposed to touch the animals, get around them, and they will course correct you if you're going the wrong way. This is their world, and we're stepping into it, and we need to be super respectful of that.
Yeah,
And you get to know your guides really well because they're traveling with you on the ship.
right.
And so they're going with you on the Pangas. They're walking with you. You know, thankfully, one of them was wonderful to me and helping me over some really difficult terrain. Sherry's always the more adventurous, and she took the path less traveled. And I said, I'm not doing that. So the guide was very good about going back with me. So they're extremely attentive to us and then protective of the wildlife. You get to know your guides really well because you're with them the whole time.
Yeah. So, what about the times that you're on the ship in the evening time and that sort of thing? Is there entertainment, lectures? What happens with that?
We go to bed.
Bad, we're exhausted. What are you talking about? We're old. But you do. They will have a talk. There
Yeah.
will be a naturalist that will come in and talk. We'll talk about what you saw today, and then they'll share what you're doing the next day. But you don't go on these for entertainment. After you eat your meal and have a couple glasses of wine, you might hit the hot tub if you're really crazy, but just to ease your sore muscles. But the ship we were on in particular did not have any entertainment. I don't know that maybe a Celebrity Flora or a Silver Sea may have something like a piano player or something to that effect, but you're not going to have anything major entertainment on these ships.
Right.
Yeah, there's not even a TV in your room.
Right.
I didn't miss it at all. But I do want to say on our ship in particular, and we went with Metropolitan Touring,
Yeah.
who has been doing the Galapagos for over 30 years.
I think it was 50.
Is it 50? Yeah, you're probably right. I was just shocked at how big the room was, I guess is what I'm saying. The room was very large. I have been on big cruise ships that had rooms that were smaller.
Yeah.
So we were actually very pleased with our room. Now, our room only had a small, narrow window to look out because we really were only in our room when it was dark for the most part. And the rest of the time we were out on the deck or we were out on the islands or we were in having dinner. So, but I will say we didn't miss the entertainment because we were tired at the end of the day.
Yeah.
They were long days.
And really, from listening to you, that's really what this vacation's about. It's
It
going to be
is.
the islands, experiencing the animals. It's an adventure, and beyond that, you don't need any other entertainment. The ship in itself is a great place to come home to eat and rest up for the next day.
Correct.
Yeah, exactly.
So, is a Galapagos adventure cruise suitable for families and children?
For this right age, yes. I would love to take, a 12 or 13-year-old grandkid there. I think that's a great time. You want to make sure that, again, that they're able to handle the terrain, that they listen to you. They're not going to do anything they shouldn't do. We were lucky enough that we had a whole host of high school kids from the mainland there in the Galapagos. So when Metropolitan does not have a full ship, they'll bring in some high school kids with their teacher, and they have to earn this reward to go.
That's a nice thing.
And they were lovely. And we got to learn a little bit about what it's like to live in the Galapagos year round from them, what their lifestyle is like. And they couldn't have been lovelier. They were all polite and so respectful. And it was fun to watch them on the islands as well. They were hopping around much faster than we were.
So tell me a little bit about the logistics of this. Fly to Ecuador.
You go to Quito.
Do you get on the ship in Ecuador, or do you actually fly to one of the islands and pick up the ship there?
It's actually a great question. Although I had put many people on the Galapagos, it's kind of hard to understand until you've done it.
Yeah,
exactly.
And so we went to Quito, and this is what Liane and I say: don't sleep on Quito. I mean, it is a really cool city. And again, wasn't expecting it. Was thinking, it's just a landing spot.
Oh, we loved it. We loved it.
Very, very cool city. So yeah, you go there first,
right,
and then they take you over. You take a small airplane over to the islands.
Okay.
And you get on, there's a little spit of an island that you get. And actually, you fly a fairly big, you fly a 737. So it's a big plane and it lands there. There's only this one landing strip. And then and it's actually a cute little, that's actually one of our favorite airports, as I recall, wasn't it, Sherry? Yeah. We love that airport. And then they take you from there to the ship on a panga. We enjoyed that little airport. And what we really truly enjoyed Quito a lot. We didn't know anything about it. It was very picturesque. The food was amazing. The hotel we stayed at was great. It was so we loved it. And I think that people should spend, a day or two there to experience it.
And then would Quito be a place to be a launching point to if you wanted to add on Machu Picchu as an extension to this cruise?
No, you really go from Baltra to Cusco.
Okay.
Well, actually, you go to Lima, and you go to Lima, and you change planes, and then you go to Cusco, which is where you start getting into your elevation. And we really loved Cusco as well. That was a great town in Peru.
So normally if we're, when you're going into Peru is when you start, like Liane said, you start hitting your elevations. So a couple of things you want to make sure that you're prepared for. In the Galapagos, you can get some rough seas and you're on smaller ships. So be prepared for that.
Okay.
And then when you get over to Peru, then you're going to start changing altitudes. And so altitude sickness is legit. I mean, it's pretty severe.
Yeah.
So you just want to your body, got to make sure that you're healthy and can handle it. We all took some altitude prevention medicines to kind of help us acclimate on our first day.
Feel a little bit lightheaded and you get winded much easier. But the neat thing about going to, there's a lot of history in Cusco. I mean, tons of history. So you want to make sure that you have a good guide that will take you through and explain things in the city for you. We were lucky enough to get to see a local parade there, which was very fun. But it's the gateway to the Sacred Valley. And I think that for me, the Sacred Valley was one of my very favorite places that we visited on the trip. I loved it so much.
Absolutely stunning. Just breathtaking. It's hard to understand unless you're in it, right? How beautiful it is.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And we love the hotel. That was probably one of our favorite hotels that we stayed at, was in the Sacred Valley. The food was spectacular. We got to see a traditional horse show there while we had lunch. So while the food was very good in Quito, it was very good on the ship, I think we were blown away by the quality of the food in Peru. It was just outstanding.
And as Liane said, we had delightful experience. You can tell we love food, so we're there to try the local food. But,
Amazing.
And also delightful experiences in hotels. So a lot of times I think think when you're going to South America, maybe you're not going to have that type of experience. Can you do it on the cheap? You absolutely can. Can you do it middle level? Yes, but you can also do it luxury, which is our preferred method of travel these days. We're spoiled now, but it's not uber expensive. It's not like going to Europe and going luxury.
Then the neat thing is you take the train into Machu Picchu, into the little train station there in the little town, which is charming. And we actually spent one night, and then Machu Picchu itself was breathtaking. It's just like the pictures, except that you're there and in person, but it looks exactly like what you are expecting.
What you expect.
Yeah, it is amazing. Again, uneven stairs. Make sure, how old was that old man that was walking ahead of us? Was he like 98 or something like that?
He was in his 90s, and I literally had to stop him because I was blown away that a man of his age was doing this. That being said, you can do it at an elderly age, but goodness gravy.
But again, that's going to come down to a conversation between you and your travel advisor and you and your doctor, so that you know your limitations. And if you're good to go, you're good to go. It doesn't matter whether you're 45 or 90.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it wasn't hard to hike in there. Now, at the same time, we had one of our agents that was doing a G Adventures tour. She was there like 2 days before us. Yeah. She was doing a G Adventures tour, and she did the Sun Gate. She went through the Sun Gate. Yeah. And all that. We listened to her talk about hers. Hers a lot more adventurous than we want to do.
Yeah.
We decided we're not going to travel that way. But a lot of people in their 20s or their 30s or their early 40s, it might be something that they love to do. It's a tough hike. You're gonna hike several miles every day. Yeah. You're going to sleep in tents. So a lot of people love to do it. I've sent people on it, and they said it was one of the best experiences of their lives. Just not for me at my age.
Yeah. So basically what you're saying, Liane, is there's an experience when it comes to the Galapagos and Machu Picchu, Peru, for every generation.
I think so.
If you're into adventure, there's an experience for that. If you want to go on the luxury side, there's an experience for that.
The fact that you can go on the little bit cheaper side, or you can go luxury. Yeah. But gosh, South America is really a neat continent. Like, get down there and see it.
And the people are spectacular.
So nice.
The cuisine, we didn't talk about the wines, but we had some excellent wines. from that region. Just really excellent wines that we enjoyed a lot. So if you're a foodie, winey, you got to go. You got to go experience it. Whether you go on the ship or not, that depends if that's your jam, or if you're really more of somebody that wants to, visit the cities. We can do it lots of different ways, and we have lots of different suppliers that we use for different pieces of it. So we can put it together really any way that the client wants for their budget and their lifestyle.
What about the number of days? Like how long?
That's a really great question, because I don't think we understood that till we went.
Right.
So most cruises are week-long cruises there, but we did 5 nights, right, Sheri? 5 nights? Yeah, 5 nights, I think.
On the ship.
On the ship. And I think that was plenty. We thought that was plenty. I think by the time we were ready to move on to the next thing, by the time we'd done that, because most of the islands, the most prevalent animal is going to be the sea lion. And we'd seen a zillion sea lions by this point. After 5 nights, we were ready to move on and go get to Peru. So most of the larger ship cruises are going to be a week long.
Right.
Right. And then some of them will do back to back. So you do all of the islands. If you're like, I got to see it all. Like I'm super into the animals and I want to go breathe and see it all. You can do back to back. And somebody on our trip was actually doing back to back, because then you will get to see all the animals. Like we didn't see the flamingos because they weren't on our route. So you do want to make sure that if you have a certain animal that you really want to see, that you're talking to a competent travel advisor that can help you decipher which island you need to see.
What about snorkeling and diving? I hear that's popular.
Very much so. We didn't see any divers, lots of snorkelers. We did not get in the water just because of the time of the year, but we did get to go on a glass bottom boat.
Now, in terms of going there, do you need any special visas or permits to do this vacation?
You do need permits to get on the Galapagos Island, and that's part of your package.
Okay.
And right now, Americans do not need a visa. Now, I don't know what will happen in the future, but right now we do not. So
just basically your passport and you're good to go.
Correct.
Yeah. So, Liane, if I'm thinking of going there, what should I consider taking along? Is it something I'm taking half a dozen suitcases, or what's the story on that?
Well, you can't take half a dozen suitcases without paying a fortune for them these days. But you do have to have different types of things. So because it can get chilly at times, so you might want to have a jacket. Mm-hmm. You want to have a swimsuit if you plan to go in the water. Even if you're just going to go to the beach, you might want to have a swimsuit. And I had both shorts as well as then longer wear, longer pants and longer dresses for the evening. We didn't dress up per se in the evening, but we did get cleaned up and wear nicer clothes to dinner, because it was a very intimate dining setting. And although I think some of the young kids just wore their shirts and t-shirts, and they didn't get dressed up for dinner, but we did get a little bit cleaned up for dinner in the evening. So you would want to bring that. I think you just have to dress for a range of temperatures. You have to bring layers. So that's what we always tell people, like about Alaska, right? You want to dress in layers so that you can peel off and peel on.
Yeah, and you know what, they do have dryers on board. So if your shoes got wet, because you're going to get wet in the wet landing, so they'll give you a list of things. So there are a few things that you're going to take there that you otherwise probably wouldn't, take on other. So shoes that you can get wet in a wet landing, and your tennis shoes, so that type of thing.
Okay, so most of the larger cruise lines like Celebrity with the Flora and Silversea, they're doing like the 7-day, as you mentioned. That particular cruise that you were on, you did 5 days, and that was great. Now, if you want to add on Machu Picchu and Peru and those parts, how long should a person allow for that?
I think 2 weeks, Liane. I mean, correct me if you think differently, but I think 2 weeks, just because you're not rushing. Take the time to really enjoy each city, and you're not just running through, taking quick pictures, and then, going on to your next spot. You could do it in less than 2 weeks, but maybe like 10 days, not a lot less, to do it right.
And you run into some issues too with the flights and changing. So for example, we spent 2 nights in Quito.
Right.
Then we flew down, got on the ship, did 5 nights on the ship. Then from there we flew to Lima. And because of the time that you get into Lima, there's not another flight to get to Cusco. So we did spend 1 night in Lima before we went to Cusco. And then we spent 2 nights in the Sacred Valley, one night in Machu Picchu, and then one night back in Cusco before we flew home. So 4 nights at the end. And I didn't feel rushed. We certainly could have stayed longer, but I didn't feel rushed doing it in the amount of time that we did.
Right.
Yeah.
In your guys' view, that's kind of the sweet spot. 11 to 14 days.
Right.
Yeah.
If you wanted to do both of them,
But I would highly recommend, if you're going to be in that area, if you're going to be near the equator, that you add on Machu Picchu
Yep.
and the Sacred Valley, because it is definitely worth going to
Mhm.
and visiting. And, it was easy to combine the two together.
So if I'm heading there, Liane, do I need travel insurance? Is this something that's worthwhile having for this kind of an adventure?
Absolutely. You should never, ever, ever go on vacation without travel insurance anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're doing an action adventure like this, where you're walking on uneven surfaces and climbing over animals and things like that, you would just be silly to not have travel insurance. But, we saw someone actually get hurt walking. It was a young person, and they were going too fast, I think, on the rocks, and they slipped and they cut their leg up. So, there's something to be said for being careful.
Yeah.
That's true. But also, you really need it. You really need travel insurance.
Perfect. Well, folks, this has been great. Is there anything else you might like to add about the Galapagos or Peru before we wrap up?
I mean, I would just say don't sleep on it. Like, get there. If you have a love for nature, if you want a little bit more active type of vacation, this is a place for you.
Well, that's perfect, folks. If folks wanted to reach out to you or one of your team, what would be the best way to do that about a Galapagos or a Machu Picchu adventure vacation?
Well, I think you're scrolling down below our 800 number, which will allow you to reach a menu of all of our agents. If you're already working with an agent, please reach out directly to them. You see both mine and Leanne's emails on here. Please reach out to one of us. We would be happy to talk to you.
Perfect. I'll leave that contact information in the description for those folks that might like to reach out. But as always, one of my favorite things that I get to do at being host of this show is I get to live vicariously through the travels of all the wonderful people I get to interview. So I have to know where you two guys are off to next.
Well, I'm actually escorting a group to Rome and Greece. We're going to be following the footsteps of Paul.
Oh, fantastic. And
I'm
Leanne?
excited.
So I'm flying into London and doing the Cotswolds, because I have not done the Cotswolds in myself, and then going down to Southampton, getting on a ship, and then going up to Ireland and Scotland, and then up into the fjords in Norway.
The Codswell sounds like a really interesting adventure. After you come back from that, Leanne, we'll have to have you back to regale us with your adventures up there. How's that sound?
I'll take some pictures for you. How's that?
Perfect. And Sheri, we'll be looking forward to hearing from you about the following in the footsteps of Paul.
That'd be great.
Fantastic. Well, with that, ladies, I'm just going to wish the two of you safe and happy travels on all your future cruises and destinations. May the wind always be at your back. And I hope to see you on a Lido deck sometime soon in the future.
It's always great to see you, Ken. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye, Ken. Thanks.
And that about wraps it up for today, folks. A very special thanks to my guests, Liane Lance and Sheri Clarke of PT Travel. If you'd like to reach out to Liane or Sheri or one of their team, I will leave their contact information in the description. If you'd like to reach out to us, you can simply send a question to questions@realtravelexperts.com. Visit our website, realtravelexperts.com, or simply leave a comment. We always respond. And as always, folks, if you enjoyed this content, a like, subscribe, share, and ring of the bell is certainly appreciated and helps other folks just like you to find our content. So until next time, happy travels!